Welcome my dear listeners, stay with me to get the spoilers first. And subscribe to the channel. Let's find out what's going to happen on The Young and the Restless. Nick checks into rehab, Nikki turns to Jack for comfort, Audra makes a mess. So expect a long chain reaction of crises over the next 3 weeks on The Young and the Restless, with one crisis rolling right into the next and no clean escapes for anyone. Nick Newman is headed for professional help after his Las Vegas nightmare gets worse. Nikki Newman is about to be left distraught over her son's addiction, and that could send her running toward Jack Abbott for comfort at just the wrong emotional moment. Meantime, Audra Charles is about to stir up new trouble. Victor Newman keeps pushing Phyllis Summers to the edge, and the Vegas rescue is just the beginning because Matt Clark is still alive, scheming and dangerous. It all starts to break open that week of April 27th to May 1st. Nick is so deep in his own spiral that Adam can see how bad the situation is. Sharon and Noah are ambushed in Las Vegas. The spoilers say Sienna Bacall springs into action and could even save Nick's life with quick thinking and emergency treatment, making her the one person who can step in before the disaster becomes fatal. But even if the immediate rescue is successful, Sharon is still the one left questioning Sienna's loyalty by the end of the week, which tells you the whole thing is going to leave emotional wreckage in its wake. Matt is out of the room but not out of the story. And that rescue also leads to a much rougher road ahead for Nick. Latest spoilers point toward Nick possibly entering a rehab program the week of May 4th to 8th. So the petrol station crisis isn't the end of the road for him. It's the point where everyone has to finally admit that he needs help. And Nikki is going to be heartbroken by her son's drug addiction, and that's where the story gets painfully personal. She's already seen Nick hit rock bottom more times than she can count, and this new low would leave her craving stability, support, and someone who gets how far the Newman family has fallen. That's why Jack starts to matter again, but in a very different way. Meanwhile, Victor and Phyllis continue their own war, and the danger she's in is serious enough to send her to the slammer if she doesn't transfer ownership of the Newman's company. The next 3 weeks spoiler alert makes it clear that Victor is not backing down, and the weekly breakdown says he calls Phyllis's bluff and keeps tightening the screws. And now Christine is the new district attorney, so Phyllis's position is even more dangerous. Victor pushes Michael's hand, Victoria gets her defense ready, and the pressure keeps piling until Phyllis finds herself facing a legal nightmare that could change everything. Meanwhile, back in Genoa City, Jack and Nikki are about to do something that sounds smart on paper but will be an emotional disaster in practice. The spoilers say they will pretend to be romantically interested in each other as part of a desperate plan to make Victor and Diane jealous. Which means the two exes are going to have some intimate moments, and if that sounds dangerous, it's because it's dangerous. This is The Young and the Restless, where a make-believe flirt can turn into a real-life emotional mess before anyone knows the line has been crossed. Diane already had Jack and Nikki in a compromising position recently, so the groundwork for a new round of jealousy and resentment is already laid. The spoiler alert that real feelings might resurface makes the fake romance plan even more unpredictable. Nikki and Jack are meant to use the strategy as a weapon, but that's exactly the kind of setup that can go wrong when old chemistry is involved. If Nick goes into rehab, Nikki will need Jack more than ever, and the spoilers say she may seek comfort and feel safe in his arms. That leaves Jack in a dangerously emotional situation, helping a friend, helping an ex, helping a woman with whom he has a long, complicated history, and at the same time trying not to let the whole stunt turn into something real. Victor and Diane are supposed to be jealous, but Jack and Nikki may discover they are in the most danger. Kane Ashby's story adds a whole different kind of emotional pull to the next few weeks. The spoilers say he learns he is Malcolm Winter's bone marrow donor match, which is a life-changing revelation all on its own. That news brings Lily Winters closer to him, and the progression sounds like it will move quickly once the results are in. Kane is ready to take the next steps to save Malcolm, and Dr. Stephanie Simmons will comfort Lily as Kane reconnects with her. This is the sort of development that can transform old tension into emotional hope, especially because Lily's feelings for Kane have never really left the canvas. Looks like the Lily and Kane story is heading to a much warmer place by the middle of May. The latest spoilers suggest another kiss is on the horizon, and that Lily and Kane will be on the road to a reunion in no time. If that happens, it won't be just about a donor match or a medical procedure. It's going to be about Kane doing what's important and Lily being able to see him in a different light once again. Stephanie's reassurance is important too because it shows that Lily is not left alone with the emotion of it all. It's the kind of slow-burn reconnection soap fans have been waiting for, with Malcolm's emergency providing the bridge back to something deeper between Kane and Lily. Sally and Billy are headed for a very different kind of future too. The spoilers say they are going into a new phase of the pregnancy storyline that includes doctor visits, ultrasounds and all the nerves that come with expecting a baby after so much loss already in their lives. Sally's ultrasound may show more than one baby, so the possibility of twins is even in the air. It gives the story a sense of scale beyond a pregnancy announcement. It's a journey of hope, fear and the very real memory of what Sally and Billy have both lost before. Billy apparently is determined to support her no matter what and may help Sally decide that she is ready to move forward with this pregnancy by the end of the evening. That pregnancy beat also hits at a broader emotional theme of the next 3 weeks. Characters trying to move forward while still carrying old grief. Sally and Billy are both bringing painful memories into this scenario and the spoiler story even hints that the baby could be twins, which would only add to both the joy and the anxiety. Billy is going to try and prove to Sally that she is his queen. It's clear he's ready to lean all the way into the relationship and give her the reassurance she needs. But whether that ends in a proposal or just a deeper commitment, the important thing is that Sally's story is moving from shock to a new phase of preparation and hope. Holden Novak and Claire Newman are also going to continue to get closer, and the spoiler cycle indicates that the May 11-15 stretch should bring more bonding sessions between the two. The goal is to the point where they may become a real couple, which is exactly the sort of development that has Kyle Abbott staring at his own emotional leftovers and realizing he is no longer part of Claire's future. Holden has been relying on Claire and she is developing a deeper bond with him. This is not a passing fling. For Kyle that means one door is closing and somewhere completely different another one opens. For Claire it means her path is getting more and more tied to Holden's. Audra looks like she's ready to make that mess a bigger mess, a real fight. Spoilers say she wants to be a couple with Noah again, but Sienna will be in her way. That immediately implies jealousy, frustration and the possibility of sabotage. It even questions whether Audra will go so far as relationship sabotage to get Noah back. And notes that Sienna will have more jealous moments ahead as Audra continues to pop up and try to get Noah's attention. This gives Audra a very classic soap role. She's not just going to react to the situation, she's likely to meddle in it. The more she pushes, the more she risks being the reason that Sienna and Noah are stuck in the same orbit. That's why Audra's story is the wild card of this whole stretch of she has history, unfinished feelings, and is surrounded by people whose romantic lives are already precarious. Noah's moving on from the Vegas nightmare, Sienna's trying to prove herself, and Audra's attempts to win him back may be just the kind of interference that creates an even bigger mess. The spoiler language makes it sound like she might not be able to resist stirring the pot, especially if she thinks there's still a chance to get Noah's attention away from Sienna. That's a recipe for hurt feelings, bad decisions and probably one very public showdown in soap opera terms. By the middle of May all of these pieces are in position to crash. Nick might be in rehab, Nikki might be leaning on Jack, Victor might be pushing Phyllis to the brink still, Kane and Lily might be getting closer to reuniting, Sally and Billy might be moving into the next stage of pregnancy, Holden and Claire might be becoming a couple and Audra might be creating more chaos around Noah and Sienna. None of these tales is isolated anymore. They're all feeding off each other and creating the sort of 3-week run that keeps the canvas in motion from crisis to crisis. The next few weeks don't feel like a lull between big events so much as the beginning of a lot of emotional avalanches all at once. So here's the big picture. Nick's health crisis throws the Newmans into survival mode, Nikki's worry draws her into Jack's orbit, and Audra's restless energy threatens to blow up another romance just as the dust is starting to settle elsewhere. Malcolm's medical emergency is bringing Kane and Lily closer together. Sally and Billy are moving further into baby territory, and Holden and Claire are moving towards something more formal. The Young and the Restless is stacking up a lot of emotional payoffs, and the whole point of the next 3 weeks seems to be that every solution creates a new problem somewhere else. That's the kind of chaos Genoa City thrives on. Matt gloats, Sienna's rescue and Lauren's desperate plea. Tuesdays, April 28th. The Young and the Restless spoilers are making it seem like every storyline is one breath away from disaster. Matt Clark is finally getting the kind of twisted satisfaction he's been after for weeks in Las Vegas. He watches Nick Newman die from the bad drugs Matt put on him, And for a brief moment it looks like Matt has the upper hand in every way that counts. But that victory may be short-lived, for Sienna Bacall is on the move and may be the one person to change the whole rescue. Meanwhile, back in Genoa City, Lauren Fenmore Baldwin is increasingly frantic over Phyllis Summers' refusal to back down from Victor Newman's demands. Lauren knows the danger is real. Victor already has enough evidence cooked up to make criminal charges possible. Now she may have to beg Daniel Romolotti Jr. to step in before Phyllis gets herself thrown into prison. This is the kind of soap week that breeds one crisis out of 3 other crises. There is no standing still for anyone. No one gets to breathe. And nobody gets to pretend they don't see the walls closing in. Nick's fall in Vegas is the heart of the storm. Spoilers say when the bad drugs start to take effect he passes out and Adam, Sharon and Noah are left staring at him in horror. Nick is unconscious not just from fear. And the fear is his heart could actually stop. Because the drugs that Matt planted were supposed to do more than just make him sick. They were meant to destroy him utterly. That detail makes it all the colder because Matt isn't just playing a game of revenge. He's watching from somewhere else, enjoying the camera feed, waiting to see if Nick's body gives out finally. That's the ugly brilliance of Matt's trap. He's not physically in the room, but he's still setting the emotional temperature from a distance. He gets to watch Sharon go nuts. He gets to see Noah freeze. He gets to see Adam flail. And best of all, from Matt's point of view, he gets to wallow in the powerlessness of a family that thought it could outwit him. For Matt, it's not just about revenge. It's entertainment. It is ignominy. It's proof he still knows how to use fear as a weapon. But the spoilers also indicate that this moment of smug satisfaction is not going to last nearly as long as Matt thinks it is. Sienna Bacall is on her way to the derelict petrol station, and her arrival could change the whole course of the story in a second. That's where it gets really interesting on an emotional level, because Sienna is not just another helper coming into a crisis. She is a woman with her own history of loss, her own guilt, her own trauma around overdose. Her failure to save her brother from a fatal overdose has already been haunting her, and that pain may be why she knows what to do next. And that makes Sienna the perfect person to take up this emergency situation. If she has naloxone in tow, as the spoiler storyline suggests she might be able to reverse the effects of Nick's overdose before the worst happens. The medication is better known as Narcan, and it is the kind of emergency tool that can make the difference between life and death in a scene like this. The fact that Sienna might have it because of her brother's death adds a very personal touch to the whole moment. It would be more than just saving Nick. It would be about Sienna finally getting to do what she hadn't been able to do before. This is why her entry into the rescue plotline is so important. She's more than useful. She has a lot of emotion. Maybe she's the only one who can read the signs fast enough, move fast enough, and be calm enough to save Nick when everyone else is panicked frozen. And if she does, then Matt's moment of victory is cut short by the one thing he wasn't counting on. Someone stepping in with both knowledge and compassion at just the right time. This also provides the opportunity for a much bigger emotional payoff for Sienna herself. If she can help Nick, she may feel that at last she has done something to balance the old wound of her brother's death. It doesn't erase her grief, but it does provide a powerful redemption beat. She would be turning one of the worst moments of her life into something that saved someone else's. Soap operas love this sort of emotional mirror because it provides the character with both pain and purpose simultaneously. The big question is, does Matt know how dangerous Sienna's arrival is before it's too late? He could go off the handle the moment he saw her appear. Sienna has been part of the bigger mess with Noah and the Vegas storyline for a while now, and Matt probably knows full well that she's not someone he can completely control. If she has made the trip because she senses something is wrong, that means she is already a threat to his scheme. He might be gloating now, but the moment Sienna enters the picture, that confidence could turn into fury. And that rage would be justified because Matt has already put too much into this nightmare to let it fall apart. He's been hiding behind lies, planted the bad batch, and watched the Newmans squirm from afar. If Sienna can save Nick, Matt's carefully constructed illusion of power begins to crack. That's the kind of stuff that can turn a guy like Matt from smug to vicious in seconds. He's a man who doesn't like to lose control, and Sienna's arrival could take that control away from him. While that is playing out in Vegas, Genoa City is a different sort of pressure cooker. Lauren Fenmore Baldwin is beginning to realize that Phyllis Summers may be headed for disaster if she doesn't give in to Victor Newman. Victor has already cooked up evidence that could back criminal charges and possibly a prison sentence, and that means Phyllis is no longer just fighting over a company. She is battling for her freedom. Michael Baldwin has been trying to get her to see reason, but the spoilers say Phyllis just will not budge. That leaves Lauren, the emotional messenger, the one who has to put one last desperate push in before it all gets out of hand. The trouble with Lauren is that she knows Phyllis too well. She knows she's hard-headed. She knows that when pushed she does not blink. She knows that she would rather gamble than surrender, and especially if surrender means letting Victor and Victoria Newman win. But Lauren also knows just how high the stakes are now. This is not bluff. Victor has the advantage. Christine Blair is once again in a position to be a legal threat. And when Christine gets involved, the situation can quickly shift from a business war to a legal crisis. That's why Lauren may want to call on Daniel Romalotti Jr. Daniel is the only one that might get through to Phyllis on an emotional level when reason and warnings fail. Lauren's plea will be frantic, for she sees the pattern in front of her. Michael has already tried to get Phyllis to back down and she refused. So now Lauren can look to Daniel and push him to remember the love he has for his mother and use that love to make her stop. That's the kind of appeal that can cut through pride if it lands right, but it can also fail if Phyllis has already decided that backing down isn't an option. And spoilers suggest Phyllis isn't anywhere near ready to fold. Phyllis Summers has always been a stubborn woman, and the current storyline is playing up that aspect of her character. Victor's threats may be enough to frighten someone else, but Phyllis regards surrender as a form of death. She would go to jail before she would let Victor call the shots on the Newman Company. This is the heart of the conflict. Lauren could be pleading with Daniel to do this because she knows Phyllis is in trouble that she can't run from, but Phyllis could choose to take a chance rather than give Victor what he wants. Daniel is in an impossible situation. Phyllis will just dig in her heels if he pushes too hard. If he remains quiet, Lauren will think he's letting his mother destroy herself. If he makes one final heartfelt appeal, he may still fail as Phyllis is already too determined. That's why this plotline feels so emotionally realistic in a soap way. The people who want to help may be right, but right isn't always enough. And if Phyllis doesn't back down, it could get ugly. The spoilers say she may be rolling the dice with Christine Blair soon, which means that Victor's legal pressure could shift from threat to action. That would make the whole thing much bigger than a company dispute. It would be a public, legal, and intensely personal war with Phyllis at the heart. And when Christine gets involved, every decision gets more dangerous because the stakes are no longer hypothetical. They are true. The beauty of the Tuesday spoiler setup is that it runs both storylines parallel. A rescue in Vegas could become a revival as Sienna may have the emergency treatment to save Nick's life. A plea may become a final warning in Genoa City as Lauren may not reach Phyllis in time to stop Victor's trap from springing. On the one hand, a woman tormented by loss gets an opportunity to save someone at last. On the other, a proud woman may be about to lose everything because she won't listen. And it's that contrast that makes the episode so powerful. Matt's getting a little victory, but it could be a fleeting one. Lauren is frantic. She can see the disaster ahead, but the person she is trying to save may still refuse to budge. Sienna races to the only place she can make a difference. Phyllis is holding her own on the edge of a legal cliff. And all of it at once, which is exactly how the young and the restless likes its chaos. Layered, emotional, and barely controlled. Matt may have lost the advantage he thought he had by the end of the day. Sienna could save Nick and blow his cruel little show to smithereens. Lauren may still be left begging Daniel that perhaps another emotional push can keep Phyllis from throwing her life away. And Phyllis may not back down easily, even if it means taking on Christine and Victor. This leaves the story in a deliciously precarious position, with one rescue about to succeed and another battle about to fall apart. If that sounds like a lot for one episode, it is. But that is the thing. The week of April 28th is not for the calm. It's about crisis and survival and the kind of desperate choices that only get worse the longer people wait. Matt is gloating now, but he may not have that victory for long. Lauren is begging now, but she may not be able to stop Phyllis from making the wrong call. And Sienna, whether she wants it or not, is about to become the person who can change everything in Vegas with one life-saving decision.